Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Nicole with morningchores.com, and today we're going to teach you how to forage for spring plants. Spring is an amazing time of year because we see everything in nature go from browns and grays and blacks. All of that melts away and turns into beautiful greenery. In today's video, we're going to talk about two plants that you can forage in your own backyard and use them for both medicinal and culinary value. Now, before we begin, I do want to stress that I am not a medical doctor, so please seek the advice of your medical doctor before trying any of these things at home. I also would like to go ahead and recommend this book here. This is Nature's Garden, a guide to identifying, harvesting, and preparing edible wild plants by Samuel Thayer. If you ever want to get started in foraging or learn how to do it, I always highly recommend getting a book and try to find a book that has actual photographic pictures of the plants. That way you have an actual image of what the plant actually looks like. This is very important when you're foraging because you don't want to eat the wrong plant. When you decide to go foraging, make sure that you respect private property. If you do decide to forage on private property, make sure that you get permission from the owner before doing so. The next foraging guideline is know your plants. It's very, very important that you know what you're foraging before you consume it or use it medicinally. And I always try to remember to bring my foraging book with me so that if there's a plant that I'm not sure about, I can check it out right away. The next tip is to make sure that you are foraging in untreated areas. You do not want to forage for plants in a backyard that has been treated with fertilizers and pesticides because this will contaminate your foraged plants. The last guideline I'd like to discuss when it comes to foraging is to think in terms of thirds. What do I mean by that? Let's say that you're walking through a field or through the forest and you come across a cluster of flowers that you would like to harvest for a salad or a tincture or something like that. It is ideal if you only harvest a third for yourself. It's kind of your way of paying it forward in nature. So by only taking a third for yourself, you're leaving 2/3 behind. So 1/3 is for you. Another third you're leaving so that plant can propagate itself for the upcoming growing season. And the last third you're leaving for the pollinators, for the butterflies and bumblebees, or maybe there's an animal in particular that likes to eat that flower. You're thinking of nature. You're helping nature pay it forward. So when you go to harvest your wild plant, make sure you only take a third for yourself. Your foraging supplies are very simple and they consist of a basket, a pair of scissors or pruning shears. Of course, you need your foraging guidebook, and it also helps to have some tools on hand such as a spade, a trowel, or even a shovel. Dandelions first appear in early spring and they hang out throughout the season and usually disappear in early to mid-fall. Dandelions can be found in untreated residential backyards. You can also find them at the edge of a forest or alongside a road, usually near the ditch. The neat thing about dandelions is the entire plant can be harvested from the flower all the way down to the root. The leaves can be harvested for salads as well as stir fries, and they're known to be a detoxifier. They taste best if you can harvest them before the flower blooms. Otherwise, they may taste a little bit bitter. They also taste best in early spring because as the season carries on, they become more and more bitter. To harvest leaves, simply follow the leaf down towards the ground and pinch off right at the base. The flower contains carotenoids and flavonoids, which are known to have anti-inflammatory properties. The flowers may be harvested simply by pinching where the flower meets the stem. Again, you can use these in salads and stir fries. You can also dry the flowers and make a tea. Dandelion roots are high in iron and zinc, and they're best harvested in the fall because as the temperatures get a little bit colder, those cold temperatures make the roots taste a little bit sweeter. The root's also known to be a blood builder, a mild laxative, aids in skin problems, and treats anemia. The roots are best known for being used as a substitute for coffee. Simply dry the roots, roast them, grind them up into a fine powder, and you can use this as a coffee substitute. To harvest the roots, simply use a spade or a small shovel and work around the plant without damaging it, loosening the soil. Once the soil is loose, simply pull the root out. A couple things to keep in mind with dandelions though is they do have a look-alike plant. The plant is called coltsfoot. Coltsfoot looks very similar with the flowers, but the leaves look completely different. So make sure you are 100% certain that you are harvesting dandelion and not coltsfoot. The other thing you want to keep in mind is if you have an allergy to things like ragweed and other related plants, then you may have an allergic reaction to dandelion. So always be extra cautious and extra careful when you're consuming wild plants. The next plant we're talking about are violets. Violets are beautiful plants that show up in early spring, and they usually show up in shady areas of your backyard. First, let's talk about the violet leaves. The violet leaves are heart-shaped and they never grow bitter. They're very tasty in salads and stir fries. You can also eat them steamed, and you can use them as a thickener for soups. They're high in vitamin A, vitamin C, and they also have anti-inflammatory properties. Violet leaves do have a look-alike plant, and they're called garlic mustard. So make sure when you're harvesting that you are in fact harvesting violet leaves. Next, let's talk about the flowers. They're beautiful deep purple flowers, which is always refreshing to see in the springtime after a long, cold, gray, drab winter. The flowers are purple and usually have 5 petals to them. They also have what's called leafless stalks. There are no leaves attached to the stalk itself. The flowers are used for salads, stir fries, candies, and syrups. To harvest violet leaves and flowers, simply pinch at the base. Native Americans used the roots externally to treat joint pain, but you should never consume violet roots. Violet roots are known to make a person throw up, so you should never ever consume them. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something. All of the links will be in the description box below. You can also head over to morningchores.com where you'll find all kinds of information on homesteading, DIY, gardening, and much, much more. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.